Welcome everyone to my video on how to complete our first assignment, assignment 7049, Understanding Complexity, in which you will be creating a workflow diagram. So I'm starting out in our main Moodle page for our course. To find out more about that, you can click on my how-to video on what is Moodle. Okay, so as you can see on the upcoming event, 7049 is due first, so I want to get started on that. So I'm going to scroll down into week 1. And I see that I'm going to both begin this assignment and complete it in this week. This is where I will submit it when I am done. So to find out more about what this assignment is, I'm going to click on this link for 7049 and it will take me into the course wiki. Okay. So this is the assignment prompt and it'll tell you what you need to do and what you need to submit. I'm actually going to click back so I can have my Moodle page always open in a tab. Okay, so this is what will pop up, and each assignment begins with this hypothetical explanation or email from your hypothetical boss, Alex. And so Alex tells us that your first assignment is to do something that will demonstrate your analysis and interpretation skills. And so that kind of, in that hypothetical situation, tells you that these are really important skills for your hypothetical employer to make money. Okay, and then down here it tells us what our learning objectives are, how simple phrases can hide complex meaning. So I know that I need to be able to show some complexity behind something very simple. I need to be able to draw something that would help in planning, and how to draw relationships that can reveal complexity. Okay, so that's what what the skills are I know I'm going to need to demonstrate. Okay, so what am I going to be doing? Under tasks, it tells me what I need to create. So basically what you're doing is you are creating a workflow diagram based off of a children's verse called The House That Jack Built. Okay, and so to just figure out what part of that children's verse you're going to demonstrate in a workflow diagram, you take your university ID and whatever the last number is, that matches a line from the nursery rhyme that you will demonstrate. So if you don't know what your UIN is or your university identification number is, you can do a quick Google search for UIUC UIN, and the very first link is a way for you to look that up. So if you click on this link here, this page will pop up and you'll need to put in your social security number or TCN as well as your date of birth. And if that is correct and it matches your information, then your UIN will pop up. Okay. So I know that I need to just know the last number of my UIN for this assignment. So my last number is 4. So I'm going to go back to the assignment page, and the number 4 tells me that this is the line I need to demonstrate or show in a workflow diagram. Priest, married man, all tattered and torn. So that's what I'm going to depict in a picture. Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. So I'm going to use a program that is really simple and straightforward, and I know that is easy to use. So I'm going to just use Word. You're welcome to maybe use Publisher or some other program to create this and then save your diagram as an image if you want. But I'm just going to open up in Word because we're going to be using Word for most assignments. Okay. So that I remember what I'm supposed to be depicting, I'm going to copy and paste this phrase over into my Word document. Okay, so this is what I have to depict in a workflow diagram. And a workflow diagram is, oh, there's a link for that right here, so I can learn more about what that is. But basically, what it is is a series of images that shows the relationships and processes of different items going on. So you might have seen these online, trying to help you make decisions. Like, if you believe X, then you should do the next thing. Okay, so this tells me more about the project workflow flow diagram. And here's an example for me to look at. So this is really helpful. And this is also based off of the same nursery rhyme that you're going to be using. Okay, so you start here, and so you see that there's a bunch of boxes in which actors and actions are. And basically it shows a bunch of options for getting from the start with Jack to the finish. So how Jack built this house is unpacked. So that's what this depicts in a very complex way. So we're going to create our own. And mine that I have to create is not the house that Jack built, but priest married man, all tattered and torn. So to demonstrate this, I'm just going to start with the very simple relationship structure of what this looks like. So I'm going to insert some objects. Okay, so anytime I use priest, I think I'm going to use a circle. Okay, and then I don't want that to be filled, so no fill. And then I want to make sure that my reader knows that this is where the priest is going to go, so I'm going to insert a text box so I can write the word priest inside of that circle. So I'm just going to draw a text box. Okay, so it says priest, and I don't want a border around that, so I'm going to remove the outline. There we go. And now I can just move this to the middle of the circle. Okay, so I now have the first part of my sentence depicted in an image, in a drawn image. So another subject or object in my sentence is man. So anytime I have the word man in my project workflow, I want it to be a square. So I'm just going to insert another text box in which I will write man. Put that in the middle. I'm going to center that, and I'm just going to write man. Okay, well, I can see that the circle around priest is blue, so I want to change the color of the outline for my man box. So I'm going to go over to Format and change the color of my outline to red, so I can visually see the difference between these actors. Move that down a little bit. Okay, so now I have my actors, but there is a relationship between them, which is married. So I want to depict that relationship. And it could be as simple as, again, I'm going to insert a text box so I can write the word married right here. And I want to differentiate my text here just because I think it'll have a nice visual effect. So I'm going to italicize this. And I'm not going to all caps it. And I want to make my words a different color to show that it's an action. So I'm going to change this to green. Okay, let's center that. And I don't want a box around this. So I'm going to go to Format, Shape Outline, No Outline. Okay, so now I have my actor, what he's doing for the man. So the priest married the man. But I want to demonstrate the process, the relationship between these actors and the action. So I'm going to draw a couple of arrows in between them. So these I can find under shapes as well. And I want a big thick arrow. So I'm going to do a block arrow. That looks cool. Do that there. And I'm going to change the fill color. No, I'm going to leave that as blue because the priest circle is blue. I'm going to copy that arrow so my other arrow will be the same size. Paste that. But now I want this arrow to be a different color. Since the object it's near is red, I'm going to change the color of this arrow to be red as well. So that's under Format and Shape Fill. And I'm going to change this color to red. Okay, so this is the simplest version of my workflow diagram. Priest did this action for the man. Okay, however, so this is a workflow diagram, but it's pretty simple. So I'm going to go back to my wiki page that talks about this, and I know that I'm supposed to demonstrate analysis and interpretation and how simple phrases can hide complex meaning. Well, this phrase seems pretty simple, so what complex meaning is it supposed to hide? Well, I need to research more. So if I click on these pages, it'll take me to pages that explain analysis and interpretation. And basically, interpretation means that one item can have multiple meanings. So for example, my very simple phrase, priest married man, could have many interpretations. It could mean that a priest became married to a man. It could mean a priest married a man to someone else. So there are different interpretations to this meaning. And based off of my workflow diagram right now, I don't know which interpretation is correct. So that's a problem in clarity. So I need to know more about how I'm supposed to interpret this line and how I want my reader to interpret this line. Is it that the priest got married to the man, or did the priest marry the man to someone else? Analysis, basically, if you read that page, is talking about how different items relate to one another. So this is the relationship between items. And so that's what we're trying to figure out and demonstrate in this workflow diagram, how these different items relate to one another. Okay. So I don't see a lot of complex meaning in my workflow diagram right now. So I want to know more about the context of this children's verse. So I'm going to open that page up and see if I can learn more about the situation about the priest marrying the man so that I can demonstrate that complexity. So this will pop up the same page that talks about diagramming, and the nursery rhyme is actually over here on the left, and it is quoted in its completeness. And so I just want to read this whole thing and see, okay, what more I can learn about this priest and the man and the marriage. And basically what this is a really cute nursery rhyme that starts with, "This is the house that Jack built." And then we learn more about the house, that there is malt in the house that Jack built, and learn more about that. And so we just basically keep taking a step backwards and learn more behind each item. So if I scroll all the way down, what I find out is that this is the farmer sowing his corn, that kept the cock that crowed in the morn, that waked the priest all shaven and shorn, that married the man all tattered and torn, that kissed the maiden all forlorn, so on and so forth. So I find out that the priest is not getting married to the man. The priest is marrying this man who is tattered and torn to a maiden who was forlorn, and the maiden milks the cow. So that is much more complex relationships going on, and I want to depict more of that complexity in my workflow diagram. So what I learned from this story is that before the priest can marry the man, the priest has to get woken up by the cock or rooster. And for the rooster to crow, the farmer has to keep the rooster. And before the man can get married, he first has to meet the maiden and kiss her. So those are all contextual information that I would not have known before and that my reader right now doesn't see. So what I would do is expand on this further to show those more complex relationships behind this very simple phrase. Okay, so that's what you should be doing. When I look at your project workflow diagram of your line, whatever it may be, I should see much more context than what this simple phrase suggests. Now, the reason why this is important for this class is some of our writing tasks may seem very simple, such as request funding for a project. Okay, so the worker requests funding for a project from their boss. Pretty straightforward, but each of those items and each of those actions has more context and complexity behind it that affects whether or not you get your funding from your boss. So this is a very simple introduction to the point that all of our requests and all of our actions are much more complex. And if we're going to get the end result we want, whether it's the man getting married or us getting funding, we have to be able to sketch out those other influences so that we can make sure that they align and they're all taken care of in order for us to get what we want, either the man getting married or us getting our funding. And this will pay off a lot once you start doing your group projects because creating a group proposal sounds very simple when phrased like that. Group creates project. However, there's a lot more steps behind each of those. The group has to be formed, the group has to decide who's doing what, creates a project. Well, we need to know what that project is. We need to know what the steps in that creation is. And so what is a very simple initial assignment should pay off in our thinking and how we sketch out or draw out the steps in something that on the surface looks simple, but if we do it thoroughly and we think about it enough, is really quite complex. And if we can plan for that complexity, then the end result will be much more interesting. And after all, you are being graded on your ability to interact with complex meaning. So, what am I going to be grading you on? And that's down here at the end of the assignment prompt, 7049. Okay. So being able to create a simple action on arrow diagram like I just showed you. Be able to create an input, process, output diagram, which is basically what I just showed you. Create a reasonable project workflow diagram based off of X. Overcome the acceptance challenge by revising and editing it. So making sure that it would be acceptable, that it would make sense, and that people would be able to understand your diagram. Place it in an MS Word document. So you may create your project workflow diagram in any program you want, but then you'll need to save it as an image and insert it into a Word document and upload it. So when I'm done, and this is not what I would want to submit because it's far too simple, I would save it maybe on my desktop, and then I'm going to go back to Moodle. I am ready to submit. So here is the little submit button. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to upload my first assignment. Okay. Make sure it's in a single Word document. I will click Add Submission, navigate to my file, and upload it. And I know that I will get full credit for this if I turn it in complete and on time. I will get partial credit if I turn it in late and complete, or if it's incomplete and on time, and no credit for not turning anything in. So I will submit it here, and Whenever I receive all of your submissions, I will provide some feedback for you so that you'll be able to revise this for a later portfolio. And that is how you will perform 7049. So the key things I want you to take away from this that you need to demonstrate is complexity and depicting that in a visual way. Have fun with your visual design. You know, please feel free to check these other terms out, and it'll help guide you in how to create this assignment. All right, if you have any questions, please bring those to our first class or our next class, and feel free to, email me. If you like this video, I hope you'll check out my others. Thank you.